What an awesome Nintendo Direct that was! Xenoblade Chronicles, a Shadow Drop for Banjo-Kazooie and Smash, Terry Bogard, Overwatch, Curry and Pokemon, you name it. But one of the things that made me happy the most was the announcement that we will finally get SNES games for Nintendo Switch Online. Hallelujah, it was about time! And among those games there were some pretty solid ones that we all know and love, like Super Mario World, A Link to the Past, and Super Metroid. But chances are that you don't know all of these games that they presented to us. And I don't blame you. Not everyone grew up during the SNES era, and even if you did, you probably haven't played all these games. But I want to talk about a special one among this list. Demon's Crest. If you played it, you know what I'm talking about. It isn't as well known as some of the other games that I mentioned, but gosh darn it, it's up there when it comes to quality. This side-scrolling platforming spooky game is an absolute classic, and one that you shouldn't miss out on. So let me tell you everything that you need to know about this game, and tell you why it's so amazing to begin with. I hope after watching that you will go on and give this game a try, because it absolutely deserves it. Alrighty, let's get our demon on and hop into this monstrous world. Demon's Crest was released in 1994 for the SNES, of course. It was developed and published by Capcom and was the third game in the Gargoyle Quest series, releasing after Gargoyle's Quest 1 for the Game Boy and Gargoyle's Quest 2 for the NES. So after those two, they decided to mix it up with the title and call it Demon's Crest. In Demon's Crest you play as the Red Demon Firebrand, who was actually an enemy from the Ghosts and Goblins series. In Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the SNES he would appear as one of the most iconic enemies. So iconic in fact that Capcom decided to give him his own series. And that's where Gargoyle's Quest comes in. Fun fact, Super Ghouls and Ghosts is a game that you can also play on Nintendo Switch right now. Demon's Crest is a side-scrolling platformer with a lot of action elements as well. The game takes place in multiple areas, but there's one thing that all these areas have in common. They're swarming with spooky enemies. Your main enemy, called Phalanx, has stolen all of your Demon Crest, and it's up to you to get them back to regain your full power. When starting off, you just have a piece of your Fire Crest, which means you can fly, breathe fire, and do a sneeze attack? I think this is supposed to be a headbutt, but it always looked like sneezing to me. But anyhow, while progressing you will unlock more crests, or even more pieces of your Fire Crest. More crests means more shapes, like the Earth Gargoyle, who can run around and shoot floor lasers. Pew pew! And the Air Gargoyle, who is really handy for traversing levels as he can fly higher even while mid-flight. But you can also unlock more pieces of your Fire Crest, which means more abilities like shooting platforms instead of fire to gain some extra ground. And that's one of the things that makes this game great. There is a lot of diversity when it comes to playstyle. You can tackle different problems in any way that you like. Want to get aggressive and fight it out? Or do you want to take the lazy route and just fly over all your problems? You can do whatever you want. You can also choose to do levels in any order that you like, after completing level 1 of course. Some levels will be easier with specific abilities, just like Mega Man. The game even has multiple endings, some better than the others, and even a secret boss, so there's a lot to explore here. Another big highlight are the graphics. Even for its time the game looked really great, and when it comes to creating a spooky atmosphere, the game performs incredibly well. You have to imagine that it still was a game for kids, so it couldn't be too spooky. So to find that right mix between a demon world but not making it too much adult is a difficult thing to do. But Capcom did an amazing job. I guess mostly because the enemies still look somewhat toony, instead of straight up nightmare fuel. Because the background has also been worked out pretty nicely, it really gives the vibe of a real environment. No matter if it's a graveyard, forest or mountain area. The music can get pretty repetitive, but it still fits the game pretty well with some coolie tunes. Oh, and the overworld map is amazing as well. It's not just a unique way to get to the next level, but it's also pretty fun. Whee! The enemies mostly have the same moves and there isn't that much variety. But with the bosses you might have a bad time, as they can get pretty strong. They all have their own patterns and attacks, so a big part of this game is remembering each boss and finding a good way to beat them. So that might mean that you have to test out different gargoyles to see what works best. But at the same time you are going to die a lot probably. And yes, that's a big part of this game. cause Demon's Crest ain't easy. I can imagine that if you've played it a couple of times that you won't have as much trouble beating it, but on your first playthrough you're going to have to learn what works and what doesn't. But that isn't a bad thing, because the controls of this game are really responsive and the movement also feels really good, as you have a lot of options because you can fly. That means that this game is hard, but it isn't unfair. Every hit you get is mostly because of you. So you know what they say, get good. And that's not too difficult to do. Once you get used to this game you can do some serious damage. And you will look awesome while doing so. So Demon's Crest plays well, is really unique and has an amazing atmosphere. So how does it come that not many people know about this game? If you're watching this video, chances are that you haven't played it yet. And if you have, then you will probably agree with me, as most people that have played this game will tell you how great it is. I mean, look at the scores that reviewers have given to Demon's Crest. A 9/10 from Nintendo Life, an 8.5 out of 10 from IGN, and an average vote of 8.6 out of 10 from 260 voters on GameSpot.com. And the list goes on. So what happened? Well, I guess there are multiple reasons that could have prevented that this game sold pretty poorly at that time. My number one guess would be the imagery. Imagine you're a parent in the 90s looking for a fun game to buy for your kid. And look at all these amazing covers. So much fun, so much color, so much happiness. And then this. Yeah, I can imagine that you would skip right over it, even though the game is perfectly fine to play for older children. My second guess would be that they didn't get to reach everybody that played the Gargoyles Quest series. You have to consider that information in that time wasn't as widespread as it is now. So if you didn't read gaming magazines, chances are that you didn't even know that this game was the third game in a series, as the name has nothing to do with it. And the cover also looks completely different, so there would be no connection there. If they had reached fans of the series, they might have upped the sales. And that's pretty sad, because as I stated, this game is great. So you know what? Don't you make that mistake. If you already have Switch Online, then this game is free for you. So why not give it a shot? Do what couldn't be done in the 90s. And that is to give this game a big player base, where everybody can run around as Firebrand to let their inner demon out. Because admit it, we all want to be a little bit evil from time to time. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Xprev, and if you enjoyed, please subscribe to the channel because that helps me out a lot. Also, don't forget to hit that like and watch one of my other videos on screen right now. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.